If you are overly focused on holding on to your material things, it's going to be quite difficult for you to cross into living in abundance. So yeah, we decided to come up with an episode 2 for abundance because we realized that most of our viewers interacted well with that post. And myself, I made that face, like I posted on our group, Facebook group, how easy did it sound, or did I really mean for somebody to think about abundance, put their mind to it, and boom, they are living in abundance. Yeah, so I figured that post sparked, some level of curiosity amongst the viewers, and myself and my team then felt that, okay, why not? Let's do a second version of it to dig in, explain, and most likely buttress this with some other real life stories that would, further enhance people's thought process around how to achieve these things that we are talking about. So yeah, to move into an abundance mindset, it's quite deep, it's quite intense, because there are a lot of sacrifices to be made. First of all, you need to be very much selfless. You need to be a giver. You need to be able to share. And this time around, I'm not just talking about material things alone. Yeah, but I would be stating 2 things. First of all, material things. If you are overly focused on holding on to your material things, it's going to be quite difficult for you to cross into living in abundance. Now, what do I mean? You need to be able to give, you need to be able to share your material things, so getting used to that, the things you love, your food, your things, your material possessions, you need to be ready to share, aside even with your loved ones. You also need to be able to support. You need to grow yourself into that space where your existence is not only materially meaningful to you. Your existence has to be also meaningful to people. You need to be able to touch lives with your material. You need not to only touch lives of people related to you by blood, or people close to you as friends. You also need to then extend it by reaching out to people who you don't even know personally, by doing things in your community and all those kinds of things. Now, it's easy to say, oh, what do I have? Do I even have enough? Have I even eaten? And that is what gets us locked up in that side of not like having enough. For you to cross into abundance, you need to be selfless. You need to be able to let go of those your prized material possessions. You need to be able to share. You need to be able to allow people come into it and also make a living and be happy that you are even existing. So that is one way. And yeah, not wanting to sound, religious, these things just have a way, of metamorphosing into abundance. And that is exactly what I mean. And I'm not just saying this. I'm saying this because I also learned this from a senior person who I once interacted extensively with. I realized that in their home, feeding both known and unknown, guests or people coming to spend time was nothing. And I'm talking of those days where feeding was still like a big deal. And I meant good feeding. I meant ajabota kind of feeding, for lack of a better word. And then I asked, how do you people sustain these massive levels of, expense? Because I know it's not as though you have it all. And they replied me and said, there are things you need to mentally tell yourself that you've grown above them. There are certain things. So for example, they said to me that at the level they are in now, what they are chasing is bigger than feeding people, even feeding people they don't know. Yes, they might struggle to even bring the breakfast, but they just find pleasure in doing it because they have a bigger picture. They have, a bigger idea of where they are going. So to them, people can just eat and they are happy. So I held on to that, and I was like, and I was asking this person this thing about, let's say 15 years ago. And this person told me then that, look, despite doing this, or let me say about 18 years ago, despite doing this, I'm not going to tell you that I can boast that I've ever made a 10 million naira to my name. I don't have such money, but I know that I will make it. I know that I'm going far. I know that I'm connected to something bigger. So I'm not ready to be struggling with, little things as people come around and they can't eat what they want. I would rather sacrifice for them to eat what they want. I held on to that. Today, the rest we say is history with regards to that person, of course. They've really exploded and they're in abundance. That's one. Two, in career, having worked in the corporate space for over 20 years now, I can tell you that the most prized asset of a corporate leader is their intellectual property with regards to their specialization, or let me say, with regards to their area where they sort of, had their career and their experience. Your intellectual property is huge. That's for those people that have become leaders, that have succeeded, in their career, in their chosen path. You find out that your intellectual property is top notch. It's something that you built. You pay the price to get it. So it's your most prized corporate entity, corporate assets, for lack of a better word. And your ability to share it with loved ones or, with people, or to use it to support people is a big deal. It is something that would also propel you to abundance. What we see these days is you see people, they've got information, they're not ready to share. They see that you are going the wrong route. They've got information that would propel you to the right route. But they keep quiet and say, well, I suffered to get my intellectual property. I suffered to arrive where I am today. I'm not ready to share. Let them also go and suffer. This is mostly common with our folks in diaspora. In fact, that is the attitude. And for someone like me, I just wonder why. So yeah, I'm going to be dwelling on that with a big example. How helping someone with my intellectual property got me to my next level. Now, there's a close friend of mine who is definitely going to be watching this. I'm not going to lie. My interaction with her actually got me a spark in my career. Now, how did that happen? She got a senior role in leadership, and then she was saddled with managing, different entities within our group. And then one of the entities was a healthcare firm. And then she, according to her, she thought and she was like, wow, Joy has got what I think I need. And then she approached me to say, Joy, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm now saddled with. How can you help? I, however, feel that I need to recruit salespeople to move this entity forward. I then said, okay, let us have a meeting. Let us discuss. Let us rub minds. And we looked at it. And I said to her that based on my expertise, because, I'm a leader in this field and I have the experience, I don't think that is what you need. That is just like one of the units on a bigger subheading. Now, this is the subheading you need. I need to give you a strategic roadmap that can address this pain. And she was like, oh, wow, that would really help. And then she kept asking about, so what's the cost? How is it going? How are we going to pay you? I said, pay for what? This is something that I have. I've known you for years. I can give it out for free. Why not? You are in pain. You need to sort this out. This is part of your KPI. I should be able to do something about it for free. And she was like, oh no, Joy, we need to pay you. This is an organization. I said, no, never mind. Yes, I know that you need to pay, but not with the kind of relationship we share. I'm willing to give you the strategy document to run with. And then I did that. I did that. I was also at my own job working. The moment my strategy document arrived, at the table of her boss, which was the CEO, the group CEO of that system then, she then says to me that, oh, wow, they like your documents and they're inviting you. They want you to come and, sort of talk about it, or let's speak about it, defend it and all of that. I got in there and I started, and the group CEO went, Joy, enough of what you're saying. I need you to come in here physically to drive the strategic document. And that was it. That was it. That brought a spark to my career. How did that happen? Because I was selfless with my own intellectual property that I had put together for over 15 years. That I had suffered and paid to build for over 15 years. I did not go selfish with it to say, oh no, you need to pay me. I maybe probably should have paid me $1 million or thereabout, and then it will go. But because I told her that I'm willing to support you, it turned around and, I got into that role. That was my first CEO role. And yeah, the rest they say is history. And myself and this person, after that interaction, have gone forward and gone further to do a lot of bigger things together. We still interact today. And we're, partnering on a lot of things, to do greater things. And that is what I mean. So moving into abundance, it's still a mindset. And it involves certain actions. The biggest one is being selfless, not holding on to the things you love the most, your most prized assets. Don't assume that they are too big to release. Thinking in that way limits you. And then I believe that anything that you place so much premium on rules you. So if you have material things, your intellectual property, and you feel, oh no, you can't share, you can't let people know what's going on, you can't get people updated, everybody should go to the river to bring out their own fish and all of those kind of things. At the end of the day, you cannot become superior to those things because they begin to rule your life. And then you will not even be aware that you are stagnant. You will not even be aware that you are just limited. However, if you open yourself up, encourage people with your information, support people, be a driver, be a system driver, analyze people's situation when they come to you, provide support. In some crazy instances, what is going to even bring a spark into somebody might just be one word. It might just be, oh, this is what I think you need to do. And it can just bring in that spark, take them away from the blues they've been, facing all the while. And that makes you don't know what that would also then bring to you as an opportunity. So I am a strong believer of the fact that to cross into abundance, you need to do a lot. You need to be selfless, first of all. You need to practice it. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it could be painful, but you can learn it. There's absolutely nothing that cannot be learned. By the way, I'm wired, I believe so. You can learn it. You can practice it. You can begin to let go of things that you place too much premium on. It's really not worth it. Sharing with people opens you up to other bigger opportunities. So this is what I refer to by having the mindset that can move you, propel you into the abundance lifestyle. Really, if you do not open yourself up, opportunities will not come calling, And like I mentioned earlier, most of our friends and folks, in diaspora, they have that mentality of, oh, I've been here for 20 years. I've been here for 30 years. I've suffered to get my papers. I've suffered to, arrive here. Let them also come and suffer. To me, I don't think that's wisdom. Supporting people has never been out of fashion. Opening yourself up has never limited anyone. Of course, doing it gives you opportunities, especially in a calculated way. I'm not saying you should be careless, about your life and, just be unchecked. That's not what I'm preaching today. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being strategic about supporting people, opening yourself up and to people, thereby opening yourself up to bigger opportunities that can propel you into a life of abundance. That is exactly what I'm talking about. If you sit down, hold on to all your material things, hold on to your intellectual property, feel too superior about them, you will be limited without knowing it. And as time goes on, you will just see that you are wallowing in that your limits. You will not even be aware. A lot of positive things would have left you behind and you will not even know. So when you see people, younger ones, colleagues, friends, probably on the wrong side of things, and they come to you, I'm not saying you should begin to jump around with unsolicited advice. That's not the point. But when people approach you, know that they are approaching you from a place of, I think this person has this idea. That, to me, it's enough. I think it's only fair and it's only right and proper for you to share what you have. Direct people in the right path. Don't be selfish about information. Information, they say, rules the world. Just one line, just 2 words, just that text message that you would release from your abundance, from your intellectual property or from your material possessions, can change the life of somebody, can move somebody from a position of lack or a position of medium to abundance. Who doesn't want to live in abundance? So leave it or take it. Abundance remains a mindset that, if well looked into, if given deep thoughts, can propel you into, a life of abundance, can open doors and enable you to do greater things with your life. Thank you so much for listening, guys. And we'll continue with the threads on our social media handles and on our Facebook group. Thank you for joining.